The bustling hum of Chicago O'Hare International Airport was just kicking into high gear on that crisp Monday morning in 2025. Gate B17, usually a mundane hub of hurried travelers clutching coffee cups and rolling suitcases, was about to become the stage for an unforgettable drama. At precisely 6:47 a.m., Captain Alicia Thompson, a poised and accomplished black pilot in her late 20s with 5 years of flawless service at Skyline Airways, strode confidently toward the gate. Her uniform was impeccable crisp white shirt, navy blazer adorned with 4 gleaming gold captain stripes, silver wings pinned proudly on her chest, and black shoes polished to a mirror shine. Her crew badge swung visibly from her neck, and she carried a premium leather briefcase that hinted at more than just flight plans. But as Alicia approached the secure area, the sharp voice of gate agent Karen Mitchell sliced through the terminal noise like a knife. "Security! We have an impersonator at Gate B7. The announcement echoed over the intercom, freezing passengers in their tracks. Heads whipped around, phones emerged from pockets, and whispers rippled through the crowd. Alicia halted mid-step, her pilot's cap nearly slipping as she processed the accusation. Karen, a middle-aged woman with a stern expression and years of routine airport drudgery etched into her features, pointed an accusatory finger directly at her. "Ma'am, I don't know where you scavenged that costume from, maybe some online surplus store, but you need to vacate this secure area immediately. Playing dress-up in an airport isn't just foolish, it's illegal." The words hung in the air, laced with a theatrical authority that drew even more onlookers. A businessman in a tailored suit lowered his New York Times, his eyebrows arching in surprise. Nearby, 2 teenagers fumbled with their phones, starting a quick recording while giggling nervously at first, then growing silent as the tension built. "Real pilots don't look like." "Well, you know," Karen added loudly, her voice dripping with implication, addressing the growing cluster of passengers as if she were a self-appointed guardian of aviation standards. The subtle racism in her tone wasn't lost on anyone. It sparked murmurs of discomfort and outrage among the diverse crowd, where travelers from all walks of life exchanged uneasy glances. Alicia felt a surge of disbelief wash over her, her heart pounding not from fear but from the sheer absurdity of it all. She had risen early that day, reviewing weather charts and flight routes at 5 a.m. in her quiet hotel room, preparing for Flight 447 to Denver. Now here she was, judged not by her credentials but by her appearance. Drawing a deep breath to maintain her professional composure, she reached slowly into her jacket pocket, careful not to escalate the situation, and pulled out her laminated Federal Aviation Administration pilot's license. The document bore her photo, ratings for multiple aircraft types, and a fresh medical clearance stamp. "Here's my FAA certificate," she said evenly, holding it out for inspection. But Karen waved it away dismissively, without even a glance. "Anyone can fake those online these days. You see scams like this all the time, people trying to sneak into restricted zones." She turned to the crowd again, amplifying her voice for effect. "Folks, this is how they try to pull off cons in secure areas." The accusation ignited the scene further. Passengers shifted uncomfortably, some pulling out their own phones to capture the unfolding spectacle. Among them was Maya Rivera, a young social media influencer in her early 20s, who had been casually live-streaming her morning coffee routine. Spotting the commotion, she pivoted her camera toward Alicia and Karen. "Y'all, are you seeing this live discrimination right now at O'Hare?" Maya whispered urgently into her phone, her viewer count ticking upward rapidly: 47, then 89, then surging to 156 as shares spread like wildfire across platforms. Alicia's mind raced. She had faced subtle biases before in her career, overlooked for promotions, extra scrutiny during check rides, but nothing this blatant. Her briefcase at her feet caught the fluorescent lights, its executive committee badge glinting subtly, a reminder of the bigger role she played today. With Flight 447's departure looming in just 52 minutes, time was ticking. She pulled out her employee ID next, the plastic card emblazoned with the Skyline Airways logo, her photo, and a magnetic stripe for secure doors. Employee number South Australia 4472, hire date March 15, 2020. "Ma'am, I've been flying for Skyline for 5 years," Alicia stated firmly yet professionally, her voice steady despite the rising chaos. "I'm Captain Thompson, assigned as pilot in command for Flight 447 to Denver this morning. Karen barely glanced at the ID, crossing her arms defiantly. Look, I don't care what Walmart costume department you raided. Real airline pilots endure years of rigorous training, military academies, elite flight schools. They don't just hand out licenses to random folks off the street. The crowd grew denser, now spilling over from adjacent gates, with passengers murmuring in disbelief. Maya's live stream exploded with comments. This is insane. She's obviously legit. Report that gate agent now. Get her badge number. I'm calling the airline. The viewer count hit 1,247 and kept climbing, turning a personal indignity into a viral storm. As the minutes ticked by, no 6:52 am, Alicia's phone buzzed with a calendar reminder. Executive board meeting at 9 a.m. She dismissed it quickly, but not before a fleeting thought crossed her mind. This wasn't just an interruption. It was a test of resilience, one that echoed the struggles her father, a pioneering black pilot, had faced decades earlier. Little did Karen know, her snap judgment was unraveling not just a morning routine, but igniting a chain reaction that would expose deep-seated issues in the airline industry. The air thickened with tension, the scent of stale coffee and jet fuel mingling with the electric buzz of anticipation. What started as a routine gate approach had morphed into a powder keg, ready to explode with each passing second. And as the crowd pressed closer, phones raised high, the world watched through Maya's lens, unaware that this was only the beginning of a transformative reckoning. As the clock ticked to 6:58 a.m., the tension at Gate B-17 thickened like storm clouds gathering over the vast runways outside O'Hare's massive windows. Captain Alicia Thompson, still standing firm amid the growing spectacle, refused to let Karen Mitchell's baseless accusations rattle her core. She had trained for high-stakes situations in the cockpit, turbulence at 35,000 feet, emergency landings in blinding fog, but nothing prepared her for this grounded assault on her very identity. With the crowd now swelling to over 24 onlookers, their murmurs evolving into audible gasps and whispers, Alicia opened her flight bag with deliberate calm. Inside, neatly organized, were the tools of her trade. A thick flight manual dog-eared from countless reviews, detailed aviation charts for the Denver route marked with her precise annotations, fresh weather printouts she'd analyzed at dawn, and her pilot's logbook chronicling 3,245 hours of flight time across 10 different aircraft models. One by one, she placed the items on the counter, her movements measured to avoid any perception of threat. "Here's my route study for today's flight," she said, her voice a steady anchor in the rising chaos. "Current weather conditions at Denver International, including wind shear warnings I noted at 5 a.m. My logbook with FAA-required currency training completed just last month. And my medical certificate, renewed 60 days ago, no issues." The documents lay there like irrefutable evidence in a courtroom, their official stamps and signatures gleaming under the harsh terminal lights. But Karen, arms crossed and face flushed with unyielding certainty, swept them aside with a dramatic forearm swipe. Papers fluttered to the scuffed terminal floor like fallen leaves in a gale. "Anyone can print fake paperwork these days," she declared, her voice carrying across adjacent gates, drawing even more curious passengers. "I've seen it before, people scheming to sneak into cockpits, steal planes, even commit acts of terrorism." The word terrorism detonated like a verbal bomb, sending ripples of fear through the crowd. A few travelers stepped back instinctively, clutching their bags tighter, while others leaned in closer, phones held high to capture every moment. Maya Rivera's livestream was exploding now, viewer count surging past 2,891 with comments flooding in faster than she could read. "This is straight-up racial profiling. Call the news, get this viral. She's got more credentials than that gate agent ever will." The digital outrage amplified the physical one, turning the gate into a pressure cooker. Alicia knelt gracefully to gather her scattered documents, her knees brushing the cold tile as she maintained her composure. As she rose, her briefcase shifted slightly, the executive committee badge catching a fleeting ray of light from the overhead fixtures. It was a subtle detail, but one that hinted at layers beneath her pilot's facade, layers that would soon unravel everything. Just then, at 6:59 a.m., co-pilot Jake Harlan emerged from the crew entrance, rolling his flight bag with the easy confidence of someone who'd shared countless cockpits with Alicia. In his mid-30s with a boyish grin and a reputation for smooth landings, Jake's face lit up upon spotting her, only to darken instantly as he absorbed the scene. Scattered papers, accusatory stares, and Karen's triumphant posture. "Captain Thompson," he called out, striding over purposefully. "Ready for another flawless run to Denver? I've got the pre-flight checks all set." Karen whirled around like a cornered animal. "Oh, so now you're both in on this scam?" Jake's jaw dropped, his eyes widening in genuine shock. "Scam? Karen, what on earth are you talking about? She's been my captain for 7 months straight. We flew the Miami route together just last week, landed in a thunderstorm without a hitch." Karen's voice rose to a shrill pitch, echoing off the terminal walls. "I don't know what game you two are playing, but I'm not falling for it. Real pilots have proper documentation, credentials, and follow procedures to the letter." The accusation hung heavy, fueling the crowd's unrest. Passengers began shifting restlessly, some muttering support for Alicia, "She looks legit to me," while others eyed her suspiciously, influenced by Karen's authoritative tone. Jake stepped closer, his voice firm but pleading. "Karen, maybe you should call your supervisor or pull up the crew manifest on the system. Captain Thompson is scheduled for this flight. It's right there in black and white." But before Karen could retort, flight attendant Sarah Kim arrived at 7:01 a.m., her rolling bag clicking rhythmically across the tiles like a metronome counting down to explosion. Sarah, a vibrant woman in her late 20s with sharp instincts honed from years in the skies, took one look at the chaos-scattered docks, live-streaming phones, the accusatory glare, and her face paled. "What's going on here?" she whispered to Jake, her eyes darting between Alicia and Karen. Jake leaned in. "Karen thinks Captain Thompson is impersonating a pilot. It's insane." Sarah's expression shifted from confusion to fury. "Are you serious? She's flown with our crew dozens of times. I served her coffee just 3 days ago on the Boston Run Black with 1 sugar. Just how she likes it." Karen overheard and pounced. "Oh sure, now everyone's part of the conspiracy. How much are they paying you all to back this up?" The allegation sparked a fresh wave of murmurs, the crowd now pushing forward, creating a human wall around the counter. At 7:02 a.m., Supervisor Mike Harlan emerged from the jetway, his Skyline Airways management badge swaying like a pendulum of impending doom. Mike, a grizzled veteran in his early 50s with a no-nonsense demeanor shaped by post-9/11 protocols, surveyed the scene with a preconceived scowl. "What seems to be the problem here?" he barked, his voice suggesting he'd already sided against the intruder. Karen straightened, sensing backup. "Mike, thank God. This woman's impersonating a pilot, fake docs, fake ID, the whole 9 yards." Mike's gaze raked over Alicia, lingering disapprovingly on her face, her uniform, her poise. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step away from the secure area immediately." "No arguments," Jake interjected urgently. "Mike, this is Captain Thompson. She's been with the company for 5 years. I'm her co-pilot on today's Denver flight." Mike dismissed him with a wave. "That's impossible. Our captain assignments come through official channels. Real captains don't just wander in looking. Suspicious." The word suspicious ignited the powder keg. Sarah couldn't hold back. "Suspicious? What protocol is this, the one where you ignore credentials because of skin color?" Mike's face reddened. "Miss Kim, watch your tone, or you'll be job hunting by noon." The threat silenced Sarah momentarily, but the crowd erupted shouts of "Check the system!" and "This is discrimination!" echoed, bodies pressing closer, the air thick with the scent of anxiety, sweat, and overbrewed coffee. Maya's livestream hit 8,942 viewers, comments a torrent of fury. "Year 2025 and we're still here? Viral this now." 2 airport security officers approached at 7:04 a.m., radios crackling with dispatch chatter. Officer Ramirez, a seasoned pro with 18 years on the job, looked puzzled as he eyed Alicia's uniform. "We got a call about an impersonator." "Ma'am, show me some ID." Alicia handed over her license again. Ramirez examined it thoroughly. Holographic features, photo match, stamps. "This looks legitimate," he said to Mike. "Current FAA license, proper ratings." But Mike snatched it away. "Fakes from the dark web, perfect replicas. After September 11th, we don't take chances with anyone who raises red flags." The crowd, now nearly 50 strong, surged forward in outrage, chants of racial profiling rising. Phones bobbed like buoys in a stormy sea, and for a heart-stopping moment, Ramirez reached for his cuffs, hesitating only when Alicia's calm demeanor held him back. Her mind flashed to her father's story's endless checkpoints, denied opportunities fueling her resolve. At 7:05 a.m. Alicia's phone rang. Chief Pilot Anderson. She answered coolly. "Good morning, Chief." His gruff voice boomed. "Thompson, where are you?" "Flight 447 board soon." "At the gate, sir." Confusion about my assignment. A pause, then Anderson's roar. "Put that idiot supervisor on." Mike grabbed the phone reluctantly. "This is Mike Harlan." Anderson exploded, audible to all. "Harlan, what the hell? Thompson's one of our best. More flight hours than you have excuses. Get her on that plane now." Mike's face drained of color, but he doubled down. "Could be a fake call. Voice changers, accomplices. I've seen sophisticated scams." Ramirez looked incredulous. "You just heard the chief pilot." The crowd jeered, pushing the barriers, the scene teetering on mayhem. Maya's comments went wild. Plot twist incoming. As 7:07 a.m. approached, Alicia glanced at her watch, her Omega Speedmaster, a family heirloom from her father's era, ticking relentlessly. The escalation had reached fever pitch, but beneath her steady exterior, she knew the real storm was about to break. The clock struck 7:07 a.m., and in that pivotal moment, the chaotic symphony at Gate B-17 reached its crescendo, teetering on the edge of total pandemonium. Captain Alicia Thompson, her poise unbroken amid the swirling storm of accusations and outrage, felt the weight of history pressing upon her, not just her own, but that of every trailblazer who had faced similar walls of prejudice. The crowd, now a restless sea of over 60 bodies, surged forward with chants of "justice now," and checked the facts. Phones thrust into the air like torches in a mob, capturing every flicker of emotion on faces flushed with anger and disbelief. Maya's livestream had ballooned to 15,783 viewers, the comment section a digital inferno of emojis, demands for accountability, and shared stories of personal discrimination that poured in like a tidal wave, amplifying the real-world pressure. Alicia glanced at her Omega Speedmaster, the watch that had once belonged to her father, a pioneering black pilot who endured endless scrutiny in the 1990s just to earn his wings. It was a silent talisman, reminding her that this wasn't merely a personal affront. It was a systemic echo she had vowed to silence. With a subtle shift in her stance from defensive to commanding, she opened her premium leather briefcase fully for the first time. The click of the latches echoed like a gavel in a courtroom, drawing all eyes to its contents. Thick legal documents stacked in pristine order, a bound report stamped "confidential" in bold red letters, multiple ID badges clipped to the interior, and a laminated letter bearing the gleaming Skyline Airways corporate seal. "Mr. Harlan, Ms. Mitchell," Alicia said, her voice cutting through the din with a quiet authority that silenced the nearest onlookers. "I believe there's been a profound misunderstanding about who I am and what I'm doing here." She lifted the laminated document, the corporate letterhead shimmering under the fluorescent glow. "I'm Captain Alicia Thompson. I've been flying for Skyline Airways for 5 years, as you've been told repeatedly by my colleagues, the chief pilot, and even airport security." Her tone was measured, almost instructional, like a professor unveiling a long-held secret. "But as of 6 a.m. this morning, I'm also the newly appointed Regional Director of Operations for Skyline Airways Midwest Division." The terminal fell into a stunned hush, as if the air had been sucked out by the revelation. Mike Harlan's face drained of all color, his managerial bluster evaporating like mist in the morning sun. He stammered, That's impossible." Karen Mitchell's accusatory finger dropped limp at her side, her mouth agape in disbelief. The crowd, sensing the seismic shift, erupted in a mix of gasps and cheers. "She's the boss," someone shouted from the back, triggering a wave of applause that rippled outward. Maya's phone nearly slipped from her hands as her viewer count skyrocketed to 23,000, comments exploding. "Plot twist of the year. These fools are done. Oh my God, she's running the show." Alicia held up the appointment letter, signed by CEO Marcus Davidson himself, the ink still fresh from the early morning finalization. The date was unmistakable. Effective immediately. The scope was staggering operational oversight for 47 airports across 12 states, including hiring, firing, and policy enforcement. It wasn't just a promotion. It was a mandate for change, one she had earned through years of exemplary service and a recent executive training program where she had pitched reforms to combat workplace biases. But today, her first official duty was an unannounced assessment of gate operations and crew treatment protocols, a sting operation designed to root out the very discrimination she had just endured. As the reality sank in, a news van from Channel 7 screeched to a halt outside the terminal windows, its satellite dish extending like a beacon. Reporter Amanda Foster, a sharp-eyed journalist in her 30s with a knack for breaking stories on social injustices, burst through the entrance with her cameraman in tow. She had been monitoring social media trends, and a live discrimination scandal at O'Hare with viral potential was gold. This is Amanda Foster, Channel 7 News, reporting live from O'Hare, where we're witnessing what appears to be a blatant case of racial profiling against an airline pilot, she announced into her microphone, positioning herself front and center. The camera zoomed in on Alicia, capturing her composed smile, the first genuine one since the ordeal began. "Captain Thompson, can you confirm you've just been promoted to regional director?" Amanda thrust the mic forward, her voice cutting through the renewed buzz. Alicia nodded evenly. The promotion was finalized at 5:30 a.m. this morning during a virtual executive session. "My role includes evaluating systemic issues in our operations, and unfortunately, this morning's events have provided a textbook case study." She gestured toward Maya's phone, still broadcasting to an ever-growing audience. "Ms. Rivera's live stream offers excellent real-time evidence, as does your coverage here. And of course," she added, reaching into her briefcase to withdraw a small, blinking recording device, "I've been documenting everything audiovisually since 6:47 a.m. The red light on the device pulsed steadily, a damning heartbeat that made Mike and Karen shift uncomfortably. Officer Ramirez stepped back, his earlier hesitation now replaced by a look of quiet respect. Sarah Kim covered her mouth in awe while Jake Harlan whispered to her, "I knew she was sharp, but this is next level." The crowd pressed closer, their energy shifting from outrage to vindication, phones capturing the device, the letter, Alicia's unyielding gaze. But Alicia wasn't done peeling back the layers. She pulled out her tablet, opening a presentation marked Executive Board Meeting, 9 a.m., and projected it onto a nearby gate screen for all to see. Slides flashed, Federal Aviation Regulation 117.3 on crew member treatment standards, Title VII violations under the Civil Rights Act, pattern recognition analysis of discrimination incidents, social media impact metrics, real-time brand damage assessment, legal liability projections, and projected settlement costs. "Mr. Harlan, Ms. Mitchell, you should be concerned not just about today's embarrassment," Alicia continued, her voice gaining a clinical edge that commanded absolute attention. "I'm presenting these findings to the Skyline Airways Board of Directors in less than 2 hours. The topic: systemic discrimination in gate operations and its cascading impact on company liability." The slides advanced to incident documentation, to Mistam photos from her discreet body cam, Mike blocking her path, Karen's accusatory point, security approaching with hands on holsters. "My assistant has been monitoring social media in real time. Maya's stream is trending on 3 platforms. Skyline discrimination has 1,247 mentions in the last hour alone. Our stock price has dipped 1.3%. That's approximately $847 million in lost shareholder value, based on current trading volume." The financial bombshell hit like thunder. A businessman in the crowd audibly gasped, frantically checking his phone's stock app as shares continued to plummet in pre-market trading. Mike's hands trembled. As a longtime employee, he likely held company stock in his retirement fund, watching his future evaporate before his eyes. Karen's defiance cracked, her eyes darting wildly as if seeking an escape route amid the encircling mob. The crowd's chants grew louder, "Fire them now," with some passengers even forming a loose barrier to prevent Mike and Karen from slipping away. Amanda Foster leaned in closer with her mic. "Director Thompson, how does this tie into broader airline issues? Viewers are calling this a wake-up call for the industry." Alicia paused, her eyes meeting Amanda's with a depth that spoke volumes. "It absolutely is. My father was one of the first black pilots at a major airline, facing barriers that nearly grounded his dreams. He taught me that silence perpetuates injustice, so I've made it my mission to dismantle these systems from within. Today's assessment wasn't random, it was strategic, designed to expose flaws before they cost lives or livelihoods. The personal revelation humanized her further, drawing empathetic nods from the crowd and a surge of supportive comments on Maya's feed. Her dad's story breaks my heart. Go get M. Viewer count hit 27,000, the story now national news fodder. At 7:13 a.m., a new voice pierced the frenzy. A corporate security officer in a tailored suit, badge reading executive protection, approached rapidly. Director Thompson, CEO Davidson's office sent me. He wants to speak with you immediately. He handed over a secure satellite phone. Marcus Davidson's voice crackled through, loud enough for nearby ears. Alicia, I've been watching the coverage. Are you all right? The board's behind you, clean house if needed. Alicia replied calmly. I'm fine, Marcus. Proceeding with full transparency. The casual first-name basis with the CEO sent shockwaves. Whispers of, she's got the top brass on speed dial, rippled through the throng. By 7:17 a.m. the reversal was complete. What began as Alicia's humiliation had transformed into her triumph, with Mike and Karen cornered, the media amplifying every detail, and the crowd hanging on her every word. But the real reckoning was just beginning. The legal hammer was about to fall, and Skyline Airways would never be the same. As the clock edged past 7:17 a.m., the atmosphere at Gate B-17 transformed from a boiling cauldron of confrontation into a theater of swift justice, where the scales tipped decisively in favor of accountability. Captano Director Alicia Thompson stood at the epicenter, her presence now radiating an unassailable power that held the crowd in rapt silence, broken only by the occasional gasp or murmur of awe. The revelation of her new role had flipped the script entirely. Mike Harlan and Karen Mitchell, once the self-proclaimed enforcers of security, now looked like cornered figures in a Greek tragedy, their faces etched with the dawning horror of irreversible consequences. The crowd, swollen to nearly 80 people spilling over from neighboring gates, formed a human amphitheater, their phones aloft like modern-day lanterns illuminating the unfolding drama. Maya's live-stream viewer count had surged to 31,000. The comment section a whirlwind of victory cries and demands for firings, turning this airport hiccup into a global spectacle. Alicia's tablet chimed softly with an incoming video call from the corporate headquarters, but she held up a hand, signaling for a moment's pause. She turned first to Mike and Karen, her eyes locking onto theirs with a gaze that was neither vengeful nor pitying, simply resolute. Mr. Harlan, Ms. Mitchell, let's clarify your current position, she said, her voice carrying across the terminal with the clarity of a courtroom verdict. Pulling out a thick legal brief stamped with the Department of Transportation seal, she opened it to a highlighted section. Federal Aviation Regulation 117.3 explicitly addresses crew member treatment and anti-discrimination protocols. Violations carry fines up to $400,000 per incident, plus potential criminal charges. The number landed like a sledgehammer, evoking audible winces from the crowd. $400,000, more than most homes in the suburbs, a sum that could bankrupt families overnight. Mike's hand shook as he clutched the counter for support, his mind racing through 15 years of service now crumbling like a house of cards. Karen, her earlier bravado shattered, whispered hoarsely, "This can't be happening. I was just doing my job." But Alicia pressed on, flipping to another page. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act adds civil liability, with damages ranging from $50,000 to $300,000 for workplace discrimination, especially when amplified by social media. She gestured toward Maya's phone, where the viewer count ticked relentlessly upward. With 37,000 people watching live right now, punitive damages will scale accordingly. And under the Illinois Human Rights Act, additional penalties apply, personal ones, not just corporate. The legal onslaught painted a vivid picture of ruin. Lawsuits, blacklisted careers, financial devastation. The crowd leaned in, hanging on every word, some nodding in grim satisfaction as if witnessing a long overdue reckoning. Amanda Foster, the Channel 7 reporter, thrust her microphone forward amid the tension. Director Thompson, This is unprecedented, addressing discrimination in real time at a major airport. What's the company's next move? Alicia paused, allowing the question to hang, building the suspense like a master storyteller. Then her phone buzzed again, the CEO's secure line. She answered on speaker, Marcus Davidson's voice booming through. Alicia, the board's convened an emergency session. We've reviewed the footage. How do you want to handle personnel actions? The casual deference from the top executive sent another ripple through the crowd, whispers of, she's got the so on speaker. And, this is corporate karma. Public accountability, Marcus. Alicia replied firmly. The response must match the visibility of the offense. Davidson's tone was decisive. Understood. HR has termination packages ready. Legal's standing by. The board's unanimous zero tolerance. Clean house. The call ended with a click that echoed like a judge's gavel. Mike stumbled backward, his pallor ghostly, while Karen's shoulders sagged in defeat. The crowd's murmurs swelled into chants. Fire them! Fire them! Bodies pressed closer, the air electric with anticipation. The scent of impending justice mingling with the terminal's perpetual aroma of jet fuel and fast food. Alicia pulled out 2 pre-drafted resignation letters from her briefcase, placing them on the counter alongside pens. You have a choice. Resign immediately with standard severance, including legal protection from personal liability, or face federal investigation, public termination, and civil rights lawsuits. The ultimatum was delivered with clinical precision, but her eyes softened briefly, a flicker of humanity amid the storm. Resignation admits no wrongdoing but acknowledges policy violations. You have 2 minutes. The silence stretched taut, the crowd holding its collective breath. Mike glanced at Karen, then at the cameras, his mind flashing to his family, his mortgage, his shattered American dream. Karen thought of her 11 years at Skyline, the pension slipping away like sand. At last, with trembling hands, Karen whispered, I'll resign, her voice cracking as she signed. Mike followed suit, muttering, Me too. The pen scratching like nails on a chalkboard. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, a cathartic release that shook the gate area. Maya's livestream hit 42,000 viewers, comments a blur of celebration. Justice served. This is iconic. But Alicia raised her hand for quiet, her expression signaling that vindication was only the beginning. Individual consequences are necessary, she announced, her voice rising above the din, but systemic reform is what endures. She opened her tablet to a new set of slides, projecting them for all to see. Skyline Airways hereby implements a zero-tolerance discrimination policy, effective immediately. Any employee engaging in biased behavior faces instant termination without severance. The announcements flowed like a manifesto of change. We're launching Project Respect, a comprehensive bias elimination program. All customer-facing employees must complete unconscious bias training within 30 days, with mobile units deploying to hubs starting today. She clicked to the next slide. AI-powered monitoring systems will be installed at all gates within weeks, detecting discriminatory language or actions and triggering immediate interventions. A passenger shouted from the crowd, What about victims who've suffered before? Alicia nodded appreciatively. Excellent point. Skyline is establishing a $50 million passenger dignity fund for discrimination claims, processed by independent arbitrators. No more buried complaints, transparency from day one. The reforms kept coming, each one building on the last, painting a vision of a transformed airline. We're introducing the Speak Up Skyline app, launching next week, for real-time reporting of incidents directly to corporate leadership, complete with photo and video uploads. Cheers erupted again, phones flashing as people downloaded mock-ups on the spot. Finally, Alicia continued, her voice infused with passion, in partnership with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, we'll sponsor 100 annual aviation scholarships for underrepresented students, ensuring the skies reflect America's diversity. The personal touch resonated deeply. Alicia's eyes glistened momentarily, thinking of her father's unfulfilled dreams, now channeled into opportunities for others. By 7:31 a.m., Flight 447's departure time had arrived, but no one budged. The drama held them captive. Davidson called back briefly. Alicia, you have full authority. Legals signed off on all directives. She withdrew a stack of pre-signed executive orders from her briefcase. I'm enacting Emergency Corporate Directive 2025-A1, Comprehensive Anti-Discrimination Protocol. The first bore Davidson's signature and the corporate seal, superseding old procedures. Additionally, we're creating a Chief Diversity Officer position, reporting to the CEO. Dr. Angela Morris, formerly of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, starts today. At 7:33 a.m., Alicia turned to the crowd, her announcements wrapping up with a powerful flourish. Skyline commits to quarterly diversity reports, full transparency on hiring, promotions, and incidents. The mock-up of the Speak Up app impressed even the skeptics. Real-time escalation, executive visibility, a digital shield against bias. The crowd's applause thundered, Maya's count hitting 58,000. Board Chair Patricia Williams chimed in via tablet. Unanimous approval. Implement immediately. By 7:37 a.m., as the video call ended, Alicia addressed the throng one last time. This morning proves discrimination persists, but it also shows change is possible with committed leadership. She gestured to the signed resignations. We choose justice over comfort, transparency over secrecy. Mike and Karen slunk away, shadows of their former selves, while Alicia turned to Jake. Captain Harlan, your pilot in command for Flight 447. Congratulations on the field promotion. Jake nodded, stunned but grateful. The gate began to clear, but the energy lingered, a promise of a new era. Reforms weren't just words. They were the dawn of transformation, sparked by one woman's unyielding stand. By 7:37 a.m., Gate B-17 at Chicago O'Hare had transformed from a battleground of prejudice into a launchpad for corporate revolution. Director Alicia Thompson, her leather briefcase now closed but still radiating authority, stood as the eye of the storm, her calm presence anchoring the frenetic energy of a crowd still buzzing from her seismic announcements. The terminal, bathed in the harsh glow of fluorescent lights and the ever-present hum of jet engines outside, felt like a historic crossroads, a place where one morning's confrontation was rewriting the future of an airline. Maya's livestream, now at a staggering 61,000 viewers, captured every moment, her camera panning from Alicia's resolute face to the signed resignation letters abandoned on the counter, relics of a fallen regime. The comment section was a torrent of celebration and calls to action. This is how you dismantle systemic bias. Skyline setting a new standard. Alicia for CEO. The air crackled with the scent of change, mingling with the lingering aroma of spilled coffee and anticipation. As passengers finally began boarding Flight 447, now under Captain Jake Harlan's command, Alicia turned her focus to the broader mission. She stepped away from the gate, her Omega Speedmaster ticking steadily, a reminder of the board meeting looming at 9 a.m. But first she had to ensure the immediate rollout of her reforms. At 7:40 a.m., her tablet pinged with a secure message from Dr. Angela Morris, the newly appointed Chief Diversity Officer. Director Thompson, I'm at headquarters. The briefing package is ready, charts, incident logs, policy drafts. Ready for Phase 2. Alicia replied swiftly. Absolutely, Angela. Let's move on the training modules and AI systems today. The response was a digital nod to a partnership forged in urgency, one that would reshape Skyline Airways from the ground up. By 8:15 a.m., Alicia arrived at Skyline's corporate headquarters, a sleek glass tower just beyond O'Hare's runways. She entered the boardroom, her briefcase a symbol of authority, greeted by 12 directors seated around a polished mahogany table, their faces a mix of grim determination and cautious optimism. CEO Marcus Davidson stood to acknowledge her. Alicia, you've turned a crisis into an opportunity. The market's responding to our decisiveness. Stocks stabilized at a 1.2% dip. Alicia opened her tablet, projecting real-time metrics onto the room's massive screen. Social media sentiment has shifted 47% positive since our announcements, she reported. Skyline reform is trending alongside Skyline discrimination, with 1,247 new mentions in the last hour. We've contained the immediate damage, but the real work starts now. Her presentation unfolded like a war plan against bias. Phase 1. Emergency bias training for all gate agents company-wide. Starting this afternoon via mobile units at major hubs like O'Hare, Atlanta, and Dallas. She clicked to a slide showing logistics. Trainers already en route, virtual modules preloaded on crew tablets. Phase 2 launching Monday deploys AI-powered audio analysis at all gate positions. It detects bias indicators phrases, tones with 94% accuracy, and a false positive rate below 2%. She played a brief clip from a test run at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, where the system flagged a gate agent's dismissive tone, prompting a supervisor's intervention within 90 seconds. The board members nodded, impressed by the technology's precision and its promise of accountability. Board Chair Patricia Williams leaned forward. "What about compliance monitoring long-term?" Alicia's response was immediate. "Independent third-party audits every quarter, with public reporting. We're also rolling out the Speak Up Skyline app today. 15,000 downloads already since the announcement." The app's mock-up flashed on screen. A sleek interface for passengers to report incidents with photo and video uploads, escalating directly to corporate oversight. "This ensures no complaint gets buried," she added, "and gives us real-time pulse checks on company culture." A board member, Robert Monroe, raised a concern. "What's our financial exposure if competitors exploit this?" Alicia's slide shifted to a competitor analysis. United's 2017 incident cost them $1.4 billion in market value. American's 2020 discrimination lawsuit hit $2.3 million in settlements. Our proactive response transparency, immediate action positions us to recover faster. Current projections show a market cap loss of $923 million, but positive sentiment could have that by week's end. By 9:45 a.m., the Speak Up app was live, its downloads surging past 20,000 as passengers shared both positive experiences and historical grievances. The flood of feedback painted a vivid picture. Stories of ignored complaints, subtle slights, and now praise for Skyline's bold stance. Alicia's phone buzzed with a notification from Dr. Morris. First training module deployed to crew tablets, mandatory completion by tomorrow. The module included video analysis of the morning's incident, expert commentary on implicit bias, and interactive scenarios forcing employees to confront their assumptions. Flight attendant Sarah Kim, now on a Denver layover, texted Jake, "This training's intense. Uses Alicia's footage to show how bias escalates. I'm rethinking every passenger interaction I've ever had." Jake replied, "She didn't just win for herself, she's protecting all of us." The ripple effects spread beyond Skyline. By 10:30 a.m., Amanda Foster's Channel 7 report aired across Chicago's morning news cycle, leading with dramatic footage of the confrontation, followed by analysis from Dr. Patricia Johnson, a Northwestern University business ethics professor. "What we saw at O'Hare is a new model for corporate accountability," Johnson said on air. "Skyline didn't deflect or delay, they owned the failure and rewrote the playbook in real time. This will be studied in MBA programs for decades." The broadcast went viral, clips shared across platforms, fueling a national conversation about workplace discrimination. Hashtags like Skyline Reform and O'Hare Justice trended top 5 on Twitter, with TikTok videos dissecting the incident garnering millions of views. By 11 a.m., the industry felt the shockwaves. Delta Airlines announced an expedited bias training program, citing recent events as a catalyst. American Airlines launched a passenger feedback initiative modeled on Speak Up Skyline, while United hired an external diversity consulting firm to audit its gate operations. The aviation sector, long criticized for lagging on inclusivity, was scrambling to keep pace with Skyline's bold precedent. Back at headquarters, Alicia met with Dr. Morris to review preliminary data. 3 minor bias incidents flagged by AI at other airports this morning, all de-escalated within minutes by supervisors trained on our new protocols. The system was working, catching issues before they snowballed into viral crises. To deepen the narrative's impact, Alicia shared a personal anecdote with the board, her voice softening but resolute. "My father faced gate agents like Karen Mitchell 30 years ago, called unqualified despite his wings. He told me, 'Alicia, change doesn't come from anger. It comes from systems. That's why we're building accountability into every gate, every interaction.'" The room fell silent, directors moved by the weight of her legacy. A new slide flashed. Passenger Dignity Fund update. $50 million allocated. First claims processed by independent arbitrators next week. The board erupted in applause, a rare moment of unity in a usually staid setting. Outside, the media frenzy intensified. CNN and MSNBC requested interviews, while local radio stations debated whether Alicia's actions signaled a broader American reckoning on workplace fairness. A passenger from the morning's crowd, a young black woman named Tasha, posted on X, "I was at gate B17. Alicia Thompson didn't just fight for herself, she fought for every person who's been judged by how they look. This is what the American dream should mean." Her post, like 12,000 times, encapsulated the public's growing admiration. As noon approached, Alicia stood briefly alone in the boardroom, gazing out at the runways where planes soared into the gray Chicago sky. Her father's watch ticked on her wrist, a quiet reminder of the battles won and those still to come. The morning's chaos had birthed a movement, and the industry was watching. Skyline's reforms weren't just policies, they were a blueprint for dismantling bias, one gate at a time. The real test, she knew, was ensuring these changes endured beyond the headlines, weaving accountability into the fabric of an industry that had too long ignored its flaws. 6 months after the seismic showdown at Gate B17, Chicago O'Hare International Airport bore the marks of a quiet revolution. On a crisp August morning in 2025, the terminal hummed with its usual rhythm, travelers rushing to gates, announcements crackling overhead, the faint roar of jets piercing the sky, but something was different. At the very spot where Captain Alicia Thompson had faced down prejudice, a sleek bronze plaque now gleamed on the wall, Project Respect Launch Site, February 13, 2025. The inscription was understated yet powerful, a testament to a morning that had reshaped an airline, an industry, and countless lives. Maya Rivera, the influencer whose livestream had ignited a global firestorm, returned to the gate, not to broadcast but to reflect. Her phone, once a weapon of exposure, now captured a quiet update for her 1.2 million followers. 6 months ago, I witnessed justice unfold here. She spoke softly into her camera, her voice thick with emotion. Today, I'm seeing the results, a world where dignity comes first. The transformation was palpable. Gate agents now wore badges proclaiming dignity first, their smiles more genuine, their interactions marked by a newfound awareness. Digital kiosks displayed QR codes linking to the Speak Up Skyline app, which had logged over 3,000 positive passenger interactions and flagged 47 potential bias incidents, each resolved through swift intervention. The app, downloaded 150,000 times since its launch, had become a digital lifeline, empowering travelers to report concerns directly to corporate leadership. One user, a young mother from Atlanta, shared on X, "I reported a rude gate agent via SpeakUp, and within hours I got an apology and a voucher." Skyline's serious about change. Her post, retweeted 8,000 times, was one of thousands praising the airline's new ethos. Alicia Thompson, now firmly established as Regional Director of Operations for Skyline Airways Midwest Division, had become a symbol of strategic resilience. Her office, perched in a glass tower overlooking O'Hare's runways, was a hub of relentless progress. On her desk sat the same leather briefcase that had carried the tools of her Triumph legal briefs, the Project Respect binder, and her father's Omega Speedmaster, its ticking a constant reminder of her legacy. At 8:30 a.m., she prepared for a virtual presentation to the National Aviation Conference, where Dr. Angela Morris, Skyline's Chief Diversity Officer, was unveiling annual metrics. The numbers told a story of healing. Discrimination incidents down 87% across Skyline's 47 airports, employee satisfaction up 34%, and passenger complaint resolution times slashed from weeks to hours. The Aviation Scholarship Program, partnered with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, had graduated its first class of 43 pilots from underrepresented communities, each one a living rebuttal to the biases Alicia had faced. The industry had taken notice. The O'Hare Protocol, as analysts dubbed it, became a gold standard. Delta Airlines rolled out mandatory bias training within 3 months, citing Skyline's success. American Airlines launched a similar app, while United implemented AI monitoring at its major hubs. Beyond aviation, the ripple spread. Hotels adopted bias detection systems, retail chains introduced dignity training, and healthcare systems piloted patient advocacy apps inspired by SpeakUp. Alicia's Harvard Business School case study, Systemic Reform at 30,000 Feet, was now required reading, dissecting how one woman's preparation, documentation, legal acumen, and quiet determination had forced an industry to confront its flaws. Her NAACP keynote, viewed 2.3 million times, moved audiences to tears when she recounted her father's struggles. He flew through storms of prejudice so I could soar. Now we clear the skies for everyone. Personal transformations were just as profound. Karen Mitchell, the former gate agent, had taken a job teaching customer service at a Chicago community college. Her syllabus, built around her own mistakes, included the O'Hare incident as a case study. I spent 11 years thinking I was fair, she told her students, her voice raw with accountability. But I judged based on looks, not facts. That's not Servicite's harm. Her evaluations glowed with praise for her authenticity, students noting how her vulnerability reshaped their own assumptions. Mike Harlan, once Skyline's gate supervisor, found work at an aviation consulting firm specializing in workplace culture. His presentations to skeptical executives leaned on his own fall. I lost my career to bias I didn't see. Change hurts less when you choose it. Both had become unlikely advocates, their failures fueling a broader push for reform. Maya Rivera's role as witness-turned-catalyst had also evolved. Her final live stream from Gate B17, posted 6 months after the incident, reached 847,000 viewers, dwarfing her original broadcast. Standing by the plaque, she spoke with conviction. Alicia Thompson didn't just fight for her own dignity, she built a foundation for all of ours. This is what change looks like when we refuse, that's just how it is. Her words, shared across platforms, inspired a flood of personal stories, passengers recounting past slights, employees exposing hidden biases, all demanding better. Maya's platform grew into a hub for Black Soul Stories, a series amplifying tales of quiet strength overcoming systemic barriers, each episode a call to document, share, and act. At Skyline, the cultural shift was measurable. Gate agents now questioned their instincts before acting, supervisors wielded enhanced authority to address issues instantly, and passengers felt empowered to speak without fear. Morris's latest report to the board highlighted a 78% approval rating for new policies and a 12% spike in passenger satisfaction. The scholarship program, now flooded with 247 applications, was expanding to include mechanics and air traffic controllers. Alicia, reflecting in her office, received a call from a young black pilot who had just earned her wings. "I saw myself in cockpits because of you," the pilot said, voice trembling. "You showed us we belong." Alicia smiled, her father's watch catching the sunlight. This was her true victory, not headlines, but futures unlocked. The broader movement, dubbed Respect the Skies, had transcended hashtags. It became a blueprint for institutional change, with other sectors studying Skyline's model. Real-time monitoring, immediate accountability, transparent reporting. At the National Aviation Conference, Dr. Morris closed her speech with a nod to Alicia. One woman's courage, armed with strategy and evidence, didn't just change an airline, it changed how we think about justice. The audience rose in a standing ovation, streamed live to thousands. Back at O'Hare, Captain Jake Harlan, now permanently assigned to the Denver route, trained new pilots with a new mantra. Merit flies, bias crashes. Alicia showed us how to soar. As evening fell, Alicia stood by her office window, watching planes climb into the twilight. Her briefcase, now a symbol of revolution, sat open, its contents no longer just tools but artifacts of a fight won. The plaque at Gate B17 wasn't just a marker, it was a promise etched in bronze, a reminder that one moment of courage could ripple across generations. Maya's final words in her live stream echoed in Alicia's mind. This is how real change happens, one system, one policy, one fearless stand at a time. The skies were clearer now, not just for Alicia, but for every dreamer who dared to claim their place among the clouds. As the sun sets on the transformed runways of O'Hare, the story of Alicia Thompson's stand at Gate B17 isn't just a tale of one woman's triumph, it's a mirror held up to our world, reflecting the battles we all face when prejudice tries to gatekeep our dreams. 6 months later, in the summer of 2025, the Respect the Skies movement has become more than a hashtag. It's a rallying cry for anyone who's ever been told they don't belong, whether at an airport gate, a corporate boardroom, or even a family barbecue where Aunt Karen, no relation to our gate agent we hope, questions your life choices over the potato salad. Alicia's victory, armed with a briefcase full of receipts and a heart full of grit, reminds us that change isn't just about yelling louder, it's about being smarter, sharper, and ready to rewrite the rules when the game's rigged. Let's get real. In today's world where your phone's camera is mightier than a sword and a viral post can topple empires, we're all potential Mayas, live streaming truth to power. But here's the kicker: unlike Alicia, who had her FAA license, legal briefs, and a CEO on speed dial, most of us are just trying to survive Monday mornings without spilling coffee on our shirts. Yet her story screams a universal truth. Document everything. Got a boss who accidentally overlooks you for promotions? Keep a log. Got a coworker throwing shade like it's a sport? Screenshot it. Alicia didn't just win because she was right, she won because she was prepared. And in 2025, with AI watching our every move and X posts shaping public opinion faster than you can say trending, preparation is your superpower. Now let's sprinkle some humor on this. Imagine if Alicia had just shrugged and said, "Fine, Karen, I'll go fly my spaceship to Mars instead." We'd have missed the corporate takedown of the century. But seriously, her refusal to back down while keeping cooler than a Chicago winter breeze teaches us to channel our inner calm but deadly vibe. Next time someone doubts your credentials, don't just clap back. Build a case so airtight it could survive a black box crash. The educational nugget? Prejudice thrives in the shadows of laziness and assumption. Alicia's briefcase wasn't magic, it was strategy. So whether you're fighting for a seat at the table or just trying to get your barista to spell your name right, arm yourself with facts, not just feelings. This story hits home because we've all been Alicia at some point, judged not for who we are but for how someone thinks we should look or act. In a world where algorithms decide what news we see and biases sneak into everything from job apps to dating swipes, her fight is ours. It's the coworker who assumes you're not technical enough because you don't fit their stereotype. It's the teacher who overlooks your kid's potential because of their last name. It's the gate agent in your life who says, "You don't belong here." Alicia's lesson? Don't just prove them wrong, build a system that makes wrong impossible for the next person. What's your Gate B17 moment? When did someone try to block your path and how did you push through or wish you had? Share your story in the comments because your voice could spark the next revolution. Maybe you didn't have a live streaming Maya or a CEO on speed dial, but every story matters. Document it, share it, and demand better because as Alicia showed us, one moment of courage can rewrite the rules for everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to Black Soul Stories. We're bringing you more tales of quiet strength and epic takedowns that'll inspire you to carry your own briefcase of justice. Hit the notification bell because the next story might just light your fire. Let's keep the skies clear and the dreams soaring together.